Well, again, welcome everyone to Santa Clara Global Engagement. This is, as we'll talk a little bit more about, our wide-reaching group on campus that touches all things global, that really supports a global community, both on campus and off for all of our Broncos. You can see some of them there in our photos, and we are going to talk today specifically about our Global Learning Program. So we'll go ahead and introduce ourselves. So the Global Learning Team. You'll see most of us here. There's myself, Sarah Branley, the director. Nat Siv is our student advisor, or our advisor for our students, I should say. We do actually have our own student advisors as well, so not to be confused with Nat. As well as then our assistant director, Chris Hansen, who is not joining us today, unfortunately, but is part of our global learning team that your students will work with through the entirety of their global experience, both before, during, and after. We've gone ahead and put up our email address here. You can go ahead and reach out to us at any point after you have had a chance to watch the webinar. If you have questions prior to arriving on campus, once you kick off your time here on campus, it's the best way to reach us because that email address goes to all three of us. So the agenda we're going to cover today is a little bit about who we are, what we do. Study abroad, global, all of those things can look different on different campuses. And so we want to talk about it specifically in the Santa Clara context. We'll get into the eligibility and term options that are available for your students. And then we will just sort of pick away at the very top layer of the application process. This is something that we will do extensive work and support on for your students once they are ready to enter into it, but we'll take a look at what to expect today. And then we'll close out with some resources and events that we really encourage students to get involved in, or at least be aware of once they start here at Santa Clara, even if they're not necessarily ready to go abroad in their sort of first summer. Okay, so as I said, we are part of Global Engagement. Global Engagement is the main department on campus that sort of oversees the big picture of global on campus at Santa Clara. There are lots of different ways students can enrich their undergraduate experience through global opportunities. Some of them can be found through our Ignatian Center, for example, in our immersion programs. But the majority of sort of what we think about when it comes to international opportunities, whether that be for study abroad or internships, as we'll talk about on the next few screens, go through our office, so global engagement. And within that, on the one side, we definitely work with some of our inbound students, but global learning and the global learning programs that we offer are going to really have the most variety of international opportunities for our students in summer, fall, winter, and spring. And so again, what that includes could be lots of different things, but these are all designed to really not only enrich the student experience that they have while they're on campus, but hopefully connecting them to opportunities abroad like research or interning and networking and connections while students are abroad that are going to help carry them into their next stages in life after Santa Clara, whether that be careers or grad school. So as I mentioned, global learning sort of is a big umbrella for lots of different things. We are not just study abroad. We really run the gamut from everything from internships and research opportunities for students. We do offer language immersion programs for those of you who are really wanting to hone your language skills or learn a new language. And at the heart of a lot of these programs, we also have service learning. And so really we want to structure this in a way that students have lots of choices depending on sort of where they're learning and where their goals are taking them. But ultimately, global learning, we like to think of it as sort of that hands-on experiential learning that happens outside of a classroom in all the various ways that it might be able to do so outside in the global community. In conjunction with that, one thing that we are really proud of within global learning and global engagement are all of our Jesuit and Catholic partners. We have some bilateral exchange agreements with many of our Jesuit partners. You can see them here listed on the screen. And so when we're thinking about global and being a Bronco out in the world, we want to make sure that we are carrying along some of those Jesuit values that are at the heart of the student experience here on campus as well. And so our partnerships do allow us to do that. One thing I want to make sure that we talk a little bit about is where global engagement fits into the broader scheme of Santa Clara's plan for the future, in particular, their exciting strategic plan, Impact 2030. For those of you who aren't aware, Santa Clara just rolled out its new strategic plan for 2030, and it identifies four strategic priorities or pillars that focus on what Santa Clara wants to bring into the future. And one of those, I should say the first one really, is called Reach on a Global Scale. And why that's important for us, of course, is that means this global programs, global learning is really at the forefront of what Santa Clara thinks is a priority for the future. And really making sure that our students in particular, as you can see for goal 3, that we are engaging closely with is how can we become a more globally engaged campus through international study, immersion, internships, research opportunities. A lot of what you've heard me kind of say is at the foundation of the work and the opportunities that we are working to engage your students on. And so we are really excited because I think we really see our work and what we do and what we offer to your students in sort of direct alignment with what the university is pushing forward. So I think this is going to be really mean great things for your students as we go forward towards this plan. One thing or a few things I should say that I want to kind of start to hone in on about what makes global learning programs, really make sense for students while they are here on campus, and how we really try and integrate into their academic plan and their financial plan while they are here at Santa Clara is, firstly, we really see all of our global learning programs as an extension of Santa Clara, meaning that especially when they are abroad, the credit they are earning and the grades that they're earning will count towards their GPA while participating on a global learning program. So if they are taking a class abroad and they are earning credits in a grade, those get factored into their GPA and their transcript just as they would if they were here at Santa Clara. In addition to that, students on the approved programs have the ability to, request credit requirements for their major, minor, or core, depending on the equivalency of classes. So not only can they get the credit and grades, they might very well be able to keep on track with their major, minor, core with all of the classes that they're taking on programs, particularly within our study abroad or summer study abroad programs. Financial aid is something that we feel really strongly about, being able to make sure that students have great access financially to programming as well. And so students may apply their financial aid towards the costs. About 75% of our students utilize financial aid or have in the past year. So this is a healthy cohort of students that have been able to align their financial planning with their global program as well. Scholarships is another area that we support. It's okay. So, scholarships also, I guess, in conjunction with that financial aid piece is something that we really want to make sure that students have access to. So they can, in addition to earning or using the sort of scholarships that come from Santa Clara in general, can also add in local, state, national, as well as I would say some of our programs specific scholarships. And then finally, I want to talk briefly about what our team does and what we have sort of embedded in our global learning programs. One in which Nat leads, as I mentioned, our team of advisors, really supporting students from the get-go. You'll see a little bit about this in some of the resources and events that we'll share at the end. But we really want to connect students with their experience as well as with previous students and new students all throughout their time before, during, and after. So we really see this again as creating a global community, and we do this from the start with our advising and support. Um, Again, we really focus on goal setting for our students. We want to make sure that certainly students are getting a chance to experience something that they've really dreamed about doing, but we take conversations with them and meeting with them and advising with them to sort of a next level and really start to help them set what are academic, personal, and professional goals that will help sort of pave the way for where they're thinking about going. So they're not just thinking about this as a trip, they're really thinking about this as an investment into their future self. And then we have worked really hard to hone a really great portfolio of programs, over 60 programs that span different terms, different programs, different focuses. So we really are hoping to be able to accommodate a wide variety of student needs and interests. All right, I'll hand it over to Snap.
Yeah, so now we're going to talk a little bit about eligibility and term options because that's usually what I'm getting asked about, especially as people are coming to campus as a transfer student or a first year student. And when it comes to eligibility, there are several things to keep in mind. The first being minimum GPA requirements. So regardless of the term a student wants to go abroad, SCU does require a minimum GPA of 2.75. On that note, however, because we do have 60 plus programs with different models and host institutions, some host institutions or program providers may require a higher GPA than SU's minimum. So in those cases, a student would need to meet that GPA as well to be eligible. Typically what we see is 3.0 in that case, but it really is up to that host institution, that partner. The other thing you want to think about is major declaration. For a lot of Santa Clara students, they don't declare their major sometimes until sophomore or even junior year as they're getting general education requirements out of the way. However, depending on the term that a student wants to go abroad, major declaration can be really important. For summer programs, it's recommended but not required that they have a major declaration at the time of application. I would say for summer internships abroad, you probably do want to declare your major, at least if not before the application, right before you move into phase 2, because employers are looking at the experience that you've had in your area of study. But the major declaration really comes into play for fall, winter, or spring programs. That is required. So a major declaration is required before students submit an application for a global learning program. So this is especially important, I would say, for our business students who maybe would have had a little bit more time if they were staying on campus, but if they want to go abroad, they're going to have to declare that a little earlier and make some decisions. So highly recommend that they discuss that with their faculty advisor ahead of time. The other key piece for eligibility is the number of academic units that a student has completed by departure. So to participate in a summer program, they need to have completed at least 44 quarter units. I would say that after a student completes their first year, so long as they don't have any bumps in the road, typically they've earned that 44 quarter unit. So we see students before sophomore year going on a summer program that early, whereas for the fall, winter, spring program, the students need to have acquired 88 quarter units by the time they depart for the program. And for that reason, students don't study abroad in these terms until junior or senior year. And finally, with eligibility, good academic and disciplinary standing is important. It is required, regardless of the term that that student is looking at. So these things are very important at the time of application, leading up to their program. And if they become ineligible along the way, that could potentially mean a withdrawal. So it's really important that a student stays in good academic standing and disciplinary standing. When it comes to term options, as Sarah was mentioning earlier, we do have summer programs, both summer study and summer internships. We also have these fall, winter, spring term programs, and that essentially means that we can meet students where they are. Every student is unique. What are they trying to kind of balance on campus and off campus and within their degree? Those are all the things that we're thinking about and helping them think about as well. So on summer term programs, students either take 1 to 2 courses for academic credit, or they might conduct research, or they participate in an internship. Very simple application, straightforward, one little essay prompt, 300 words. They have to tell us what they're doing, maybe a proposed academic plan if they're taking courses, or kind of what they're hoping to do in the internship. So very straightforward, easy, not very time consuming, and it's open to eligible sophomore, junior, and senior students. With summer programs, there's a guaranteed nomination so long as all eligibility requirements are met. And we're going to talk about what nomination means a little bit later. But for students who maybe are a little anxious about whether or not they would get a spot, summer is a really great opportunity because you just don't have to worry about that. Summer programs are shorter immersion. Programs can be anywhere between 4 and 12 weeks. Eventually, we'll even have some programs that may be as short as 2 weeks long. And that can really be beneficial for students who maybe are in athletics, or they just are involved in a lot on campus during the academic year, but they still want a global experience and they don't want to have to sacrifice any of the things that are really important to them. When it comes to fall, winter, or spring terms, it's kind of exactly what it sounds like, right? Just like here at SCU, you would be taking classes, you'd be getting involved in campus life. And so that's the same during those terms. Typically, students are taking 5 courses on a study abroad program, especially in the fall term, which is when most of our juniors and seniors go abroad. The reason they take 5 is because most programs are semester. And we are a quarter school living in a semester world, and it just looks a little bit different. But the plus side of that is there's longer immersion, and most programs are closer to being 5 months long. Some are 4 months, but you're just getting the most out of that cultural experience and that exchange. Some programs also, in addition to that coursework, have research or internship opportunities. So it could be a good way to fit in multiple things for their personal, professional, and academic goals. Just because you're there longer, it's easier to take advantage of kind of multiple opportunities if it's built into the program. For fall, winter, spring, because it is so academic focused, it is a time-intensive application. It's not something that we recommend students wait until the last minute to work on and submit. I'm sure some students do. Procrastination gets the best of us. But really, for a student to feel confident about their budget, and whether they can afford it, about whether the program actually meets their academic needs, those things take multiple conversations. And the students who work with us, have that confidence and understand how a program is going to work for them before they even submit that application. Like I said earlier, these are typically open to eligible juniors and seniors just because that 88 quarter unit requirement. Some students come in with more credit at the get-go. So the class standing doesn't matter so much as the quarter units prior to departure, but this just kind of helps frame when people typically go. It's important to stress that on fall, winter, and spring programs, nomination's not guaranteed, even if all eligibility requirements are met. Again, we're going to talk about nomination soon. And I just want to throw out there that fall, winter, spring programs really are ideal for students who are seeking that full academic integration and deeper academic alignment. They want to challenge themselves, get themselves out of their comfort zones for the longest amount of time, that sort of thing. I wanted to highlight a few student stories because I know how important those are, and I'm just so proud of these students. I meet with most of them, and to see the growth that they experience is just amazing and brings tears to my eyes. But this is from Alicia Birch. She was a chemistry major and graduated in 2024. She also worked for us as a study abroad peer advisor because, as Sarah mentioned earlier, we do have student workers that assist current students navigating the process to give them that returnee perspective. And Alicia said, it was because of my summer internship in Australia that I became a senior with a sense of direction. I was able to pinpoint what area of chemistry I'd specifically like to pursue, and I would have never been this encouraged if I wasn't able to get that professional experience so early in my career. After Alicia took advantage of this opportunity, she decided to apply to UC Davis for a PhD, and she is currently working on her PhD there for environmental engineering. And on this internship, she did find out that that's the part of her kind of experience that she wanted to hone in on for the rest of her life. So we're really proud of her. Those internships, very profound. I also want to highlight Angeli, who is our study abroad peer advisor this year. We're about to onboard her. She's a public health major. She's going to graduate in 2026, and she did a full semester program last fall. Um, and she says, living in a different environment challenged me to reflect on my own identity and aspirations. I learned how to be open to new challenges with curiosity rather than fear. There was a mutual curiosity between myself and the people I met, which made it easier to form connections. Instead of feeling isolated in a new country, I found ways to bridge cultural differences through shared experiences. And like I said, Angeli will be joining our team. So if you'd like to chat with her, she will be there during our peer advisor hours this fall. She'd love to chat with you. Um, yeah, so that was a little bit about eligibility and term options. I'm going to switch into application process. So there are four main application materials students have to submit. The first being a valid passport. So all students have to have a valid passport, and we do typically require that at the time of application, either the valid passport, a photo of it, or that a student has started their application for one if they don't have it already. The reason for this is depending on the programs that they apply for, they may very well need a visa. And the visa process can be long, and sometimes it needs to be started quickly. So it's just really important that they already have the passport so that they don't start that process too late. Since passports and visas are required to get into another country and come back to yours, that's just something you can't drop the ball on. If you don't get those things, you're not going to be able to go. So that's a really important one. Essay responses. So depending on the term they're applying for, they may have one essay question or three, but they're more like prompts, no more than 300 words each. And the topics that they're focusing on are academic alignment, community engagement, and preparedness. So really just the student is looking into the program, why it works for them, why they're excited about it, how it fits into their goals. They also have to submit 2 academic planning forms. The first being their SU 4-year degree plan. This helps them look at what remaining degree requirements they still need to complete. It kind of has nothing to do with study abroad. It's what do I still have to do? What have I already completed? Then they submit a proposed academic planning for global learning programs. So depending on the programs they're looking at, they can apply up to 3. Each program is going to look vastly different for what they can do for them in terms of fulfilling major, minor, core requirements or general elective. And so that specific plan is helping them see, okay, if I were to go on this program, this is what that program would do for me. This is how my 4-year degree plan might look different to accommodate that experience. And so these are all the things that we help them with in peer advising hours. We don't expect them to go through this themselves. It's a whole new process. We're here every step of the way for that. Students do have to submit those applications during our filing period. So our filing period for summer 2026, fall 2026, and winter and spring 2027 programs are opening this fall quarter. I think if you're not planning on applying anytime soon, the main thing to remember here is that applications are always due fall quarter for the programs in the next academic year. Students from all majors are eligible to apply, and applications may be submitted in our SU Global Learning Portal at any point during the filing period, and the late applications are not accepted. So it's really important that students work with us in advance and are ready to go because we can't accommodate late applications. This year, our filing period opens on Monday, November 17th, and it closes on Thursday, December 4th. So leading up to this, students are meeting with us in peer advisor hours. They're coming to our application info sessions, our budget workshops, our how to pick a program that works for you workshops. We have so many opportunities for them to get engaged and to really find something that they're confident about.
Okay. So we'll talk a little bit about the application review process. It's important to, when we talk with folks, that they are always asking, how many students get nominated? What's the nomination percentage every year? And really the way we think about it is the number of application nominations really varies from year to year based on student interest and sort of the allotted placements for global learning as a whole that we have been given. And so really what that comes down to is we will be working really closely to ensure that we can nominate as many students as we possibly can across all of our terms. But ultimately, securing a nomination to a fall, winter, or spring program is not guaranteed. And so that's why it's really important for students to do that sort of preparatory work with Nat and her advising team early and often so that we can best ensure that we can move them through this process smoothly. So students are are going to be submitting anywhere from 1 to 3 applications. If we don't say it on the next slide already, I'll make sure to say it here that our main tip for success is to submit 3, not just putting all of your eggs in one basket. This is something that when students come in and pick programs, we will again give them support around, but anywhere from 1 to 3 applications is what they will submit. We will work with both the global learning team as well as trained faculty and staff to verify the student's eligibility, ensure all the application materials are submitted, and review those essays and personal statements such as they were that Nat was talking about. So the work that students put into those essays is utilized and read to make sure, as again, part of the criteria is being met. And so we are ticking all of those boxes, making sure that students are good to go and ready to move into the final process, which they are then placed in one program based on the order in which applications were received. And we do that with all of the applications that we have up until enrollment capacity for global learning is reached. So for students who are really anxious about getting in one particular program, we certainly encourage them to apply as early as they can in that filing period to ensure that they have the best chance of success at being placed into the program for which they are applying. But as you can see from my earlier statement, the more applications that student submits for different programs, the more opportunities they have to ensure that they will be nominated based on capacity. So to touch on capacity, what that means when we are talking about it with your students, first of all, I do like to always preface with summer programs do not have enrollment capacity or enrollment caps, as you will hear us talk about them. And so for a lot of our students, summer works great for that reason. They don't necessarily have to worry about maybe not getting into a particular program that they really wanted, or it just, again, works even better with their timing and they don't have to necessarily worry too much about how it's going to affect their fall, winter, spring. So summer is easy from that standpoint. Academic year programs do have enrollment caps, and some of that is in large part because of the way we work with different host universities and partners, is we really want to ensure a really immersive experience, both for our students as well as the local community in which students are going into, other study abroad students that they might be on the program with from other parts of the world. We want to ensure that we are really diversifying where our student population is going in the world so that we can not only be more global ourselves and our students can be as global as possible, but again, that they also have that access to sort of engagement as deeply as they possibly can. And so having enrollment capacity and limits on our individual programs really helps us do that. So there are some programs that during fall, winter, spring that do reach capacity because more applicants have applied to them. And that tends to be for reasons that vary everything from the curriculum availability on those particular programs to the location. And so as students are coming to our resources and our sessions and our advising, we will be letting them know, hey, these are ones that, we have seen that reach capacity. So how can you balance, programs that you're applying for that might reach capacity with others that might give you a better chance of finding a nomination spot. And so in the event for any reason Global Learning is not able to offer a student a nomination in a particular year, they might be placed on a wait list. And we do have movement every year in different amounts and capacities that see students perhaps leaving the process for lots of different reasons and then opening up spots for others all the way up until our final commitment deadline. But in the worst case scenario, if they are still not able to be moved from the wait list, we do work with students to ensure that they have priority nomination for the next application cycle the following year.
And so really our tips for success is to prepare your application materials well before the filing period. You're encouraged to attend global engagements and advising events for support in our advising hours. Conduct thorough research about the individual program's structure and opportunities to really determine how it's going to meet your needs and goals. And then just use effective writing and revising tips to craft strong essays that meet the essay prompt criteria. We highly recommend meeting with SCU's Hub Writing Center for valuable feedback on your first draft. But really, there are tons of scholarships available, and we have designed those essay prompts to get you thinking about what scholarships are going to ask you to talk about. So when you do that with intention the first time, it helps you do less work later. So highly recommend just taking the time, even though they're short essay prompts, to really think about the program and articulate what it's going to do for you. And with that, we're going to end on resources and events that you all can look forward to, and we hope to see you at. The first thing I want to highlight is our Camino Advising module. And so we have a global learning advising module that I run. And this is where you can sign up for our application newsletter. It's where you can view all of our advising checklists so that you know how to get started step by step and know who to reach out to for support when our events are going on. You can look at student experiences and stories. We have our podcast, Abroad in Your Horizons, where we interview students who got back from abroad about their experiences in specific locations. So this really is the central hub. Once you're in it, you can stay in it forever if you want to stay in it forever, just to keep track. But I'll definitely keep you on track along the way. So highly recommend that. There's a QR code here if you want to go ahead and join it. You do have to have your SCU email. So if you don't have that quite yet, you won't be able to join, unfortunately, until you do have it. But you're welcome to join at any time. It's always live. The second thing I want to make sure that you're aware of is we do have tutorial videos. I make these as well. We have some right now. It's called our summer to-do list, where we start giving students advice about how to make their four-year degree plan, which they certainly can do on their own at home, and then we can help them when they get to campus. We have an estimating your budget, how to actually do that, looking at the program costs, what to think about when it comes to housing and storage while abroad. And so all of those are on our YouTube, Global Learning at SU. Here's the QR code. Highly recommend checking those out. Great wealth of information. And then the big event that we invite all transfer students and first-year students to is our annual Global Opportunities Expo in the Benson, California Mission Room. If you're not familiar yet with where everything is on campus, Benson is our main student center hub. So that's where the cafeteria is, that's where the bookstore is. It's right across from the library, and the California Mission Room is on the basement level. So that's where we'll be on Wednesday, October 22nd from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. We'll be having a tabling fair. We'll be having SU alumni coming to chat with you about where they went abroad, and many of our program partners from around the world will be there to talk to you about the program opportunities and what makes each of those unique, which certainly can help you identify a program you might be interested in and also help you think about things you might want to write in your essays. So this is a big event. You are welcome to come. We hope to see you there.
Yeah, and I will just plug one more time specifically for our transfer population. We really want to make sure that you all hit the ground running as quickly as you possibly can, since we know that your time at Santa Clara is a little bit shorter, and we want to ensure that you are maximizing that. So come see us early. That being said, we welcome all of you to come visit Global Engagement once you are on campus, and to get to know us, and hopefully start into our application process early. We really appreciate you taking the time. We're excited to see all of you in person. If we have had a chance to meet you at any of our orientations on campus, or have chatted via email at this stage, we are looking forward to hopefully sending you abroad in the next year or so. So start thinking and start getting excited about where you see yourself as a global Bronco. So thank you so much. We will have this resource available at